Hey guys, if you're new here, my name is Deb. Welcome. Today we are going to be testing A2O Glow Liquid Eyeshadows. Well, eyeshadow single in the shade Sci, S-C-I. If you watched my Shop Missy haul video, then you may remember seeing me haul this. It's this really pretty green shimmery liquid eyeshadow. I had never tried any of these before, so I decided to just buy one and see how it went. Now, if you follow me on my social media, you may have seen me post this picture over the weekend, and that is what I have on in this picture with a powder eyeshadow from the same brand. And I said in the post, tried out the A2O Glow liquid eyeshadow I showed in my Shop Missy haul video called Sci. Very nice formula and color. I paired it with the A2O eyeshadow single in Mossy. The thing is, what you don't know or didn't know is that about an hour after this picture was taken, I went by a mirror and it was all melted. Now, when it comes to liquid eyeshadows, you have to play around with them and find out what is the best way to use a particular formula, because they are not all created equal. They do not all perform the same way. So you have to play around with them and figure out what is the best method for this eyeshadow, because once you figure that out, usually it will look really pretty and it will stay that way and you'll enjoy using it, because liquid eyeshadows can be really beautiful once you figure that out. Okay, so I've done my makeup today with the exception of my eyes, and when I used this shadow over the weekend, I started by priming my eyes with my MAC Painterly Paint Pot, and I'm going to do that again today. And I don't know if this was one of the reasons why it didn't work. I don't think so, and we'll get to that in a minute. This is just a Wet n Wild large shader brush. So I'm gonna pop some of this all over the eye area. Yeah, liquid eyeshadows can be really gorgeous once you figure out the best application method. But they are all different. You know, the formula on those is completely different from brand to brand. And you can't just go in there all willy-nilly and do it the way you've done it with other brands and think that that's going to work. Okay, so that's all set. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with this Profusion Firm Blending Eyeshadow Brush. This is the ES2. And I'm going to use the A2O Single Powder Eyeshadow in the shade Mossy. And this is from the same website, shopmissy.com. This ended up being the perfect color to pair with that liquid eyeshadow, and fortunately I had it. I'm only missing 5 shades from the A2O pressed powder eyeshadow line. One of them is hopefully going to be on its way to me soon because I ordered it, and then I'll only be missing 4. And you know, once I can, hopefully I'll be able to get those other 4 shades so that I can have the whole collection. Okay, so this is going to be my crease shade and my outer lid shade. So I'm just doing really small circles in the crease to begin. And like I said, I'm also going to put this in the outer lid. So I always layer my shadows because I don't like to go in with a ton of shadow right away and then not be able to blend it out. So less is more. And I want to make sure that I have this all in place exactly in the amount that I want and blended before we go in with that liquid shadow. Okay, I think that is about right. Okay, now, when I went in with this liquid shadow over the weekend, I went straight from the applicator and applied it with the applicator in a thick enough layer that it would be opaque, and it was too much product, so when it dried, it creased and it melted, and it was too much product. So, you know, I've had brands in the past that I could do that with, brands that had a lot of alcohol in the formula, that it would just dry immediately and just dry the way you saw it. But you can't do that with this one. But I wanted to try it because that would be the easiest method of application if it worked. So to kind of give me an idea of the formula and better understand it, I did this swatch on my hand this morning, and I have since taken a shower and washed my hands multiple times. And that tells me that this is pretty much waterproof because most of it is still there. It looks like the surface of it did come off from taking a shower and washing my hands, but for the most part it's waterproof. So I thought maybe that would help me in figuring this all out. Okay, so normally when I apply powder eyeshadow, I use my MAC 239 shader brush. So I know this is not a powder eyeshadow, but what I'm going to do is I'm just taking the applicator, and instead of putting all this product on my eye, which was clearly too much, I'm going to dab some from the applicator like that. So I'm just taking a portion of it and I'm going to apply that to the lid and spread it out over this area. Okay, now that's not quite as deep as I would like, or yeah, I guess deep is the right word, but I'm just taking a little bit more. I want to make sure that it's covered well and that you can't see my eyelid shining through it. But by using the brush, I'm blending it easier and getting a nice even coverage. Okay, so that is how I want it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Profusion small pointed eyeshadow brush. This is the ES6. And we're going to go back into Mossy. Pick some of that up on the brush. And we're going to go right along the lower lash line. And we're going to connect it to what we did in the crease. Okay, now I need to grab one more brush that I don't see here. Okay, next I'm going to go in with this AOA Studio Buttercream Gel Liner in the shade Pistachio. And this is a matte green. It's not going to apply as dark as it is in the pan. I'm going to use a Profusion flat precise eyeshadow brush in, this is an ES7. I'm going to pick some of that up on the brush, and we're going to go right in the waterline. Just going to do a little more. Put the cover on this really tight, you guys, so that it doesn't dry out if you have those. Okay, I'm going to curl my lashes. And I'm going to be very careful when I'm applying the curler so that I don't hit that liquid eyeshadow, because I don't want to make any kind of a mark on there. I'm trying to let it dry, you know? Okay, good, I didn't. All right, Milani, the violet one, Lash Primer. Just wiping off the excess product. And I'm just putting this on the top lashes. Maybelline, the Falsies Lash Lift Mascara. Just wiggling at the bottom here. And then on the top, I'm going to try to get down to the root and wiggle and curl and lift. Wiggle, curl, and lift. Okay. I'm going to do the other eye off camera and be right back. Okay, so the other eye is finished and my makeup is done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go about my day, and I'm going to come back in what would be a reasonable amount of time. I don't know. I'm just going to play it by ear. I'll come back in at least 1 or 2 hours. Maybe I should even go longer. We'll see. I guess it doesn't really matter, but I'll come back in a few hours and we'll look at it again and see if it moved, if it melted, if it looks any different than it does now. And if it didn't, then we'll know that this was the right application method for this product. Now, if it moves again, I may have to try it again with a different eyeshadow primer. It could be that the MAC Painterly Paint Pot just doesn't play well with this product, but we'll see. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that this is going to look the same when I come back as it does now, and then we'll know for sure. So it's 9:47 right now, and so I'll be back in a few hours. Hey guys. Okay, so it hasn't even been an hour yet. 10:40. I looked in the mirror and okay, if you look closely, see how you can see like a line? That's my crease. And then there's like white above that. So this is all like melting and creasing on the lid and into the crease. So what I'm gonna do is I'm still gonna give it a chance. I'm thinking that it might be the MAC Painterly paint pot that is the problem. So I'm gonna take this all off and I'm going to put on like a traditional eyeshadow primer, like a real eyeshadow primer, because MAC Painterly paint pot is actually a cream eyeshadow. I know everybody uses them as primers, but it's really not an eyeshadow primer. So I'm going to use something that actually says eyeshadow primer on the package, and I'm going to redo my eyes. I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like so that you can see the before and after. And so that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, so I removed the eyeshadows that were there. I left the eyeliner and this shadow here, and I tried to make sure that I didn't touch my mascara when I was removing that eyeshadow from here. And when I redid it, I used just a standard eyeshadow primer. I used Profusion No Budge eyeshadow primer. And then instead of doing my crease color first, this time I used this first on a small shader brush. Then I went in and did my crease with the A2o Mossy eyeshadow that I used before in the demo. And looked at my eyes, and the color on my lids was so light in comparison that you couldn't hardly see it. So what I did was I went back into this, and this time I used my finger and I just put the tiniest little bit on my finger and blended it with my finger very lightly over what I had applied with a brush. Now if I touch it, okay, it's a bit tacky right now, so it is drying down. But in order to get the full opacity, I had to go back in, but I didn't want to use a brush because, I don't know, I just felt like if I did, it was going to be too much. So I'm going to go back and do whatever, and I'm going to come back in an hour or so, and we'll look at this again. And if we see creasing again, then I think we've given it a fair shot and it's just not a good product. But if it's not creasing, then it was the eyeshadow base that I used. So let's see what happens. So I'll be back like in an hour or more and we'll check it out. All right, so I'm back and it's been another hour and I'm looking at my eyeshadow and there is a little bit of creasing, but not like it was before. And if you could see this in reality rather than on camera, in reality, it actually looks fine in reality. Something about the lighting and the camera is really highlighting the minimal amount of creasing that is going on here. I think if I was going to do this again, which I'm not, this is enough testing and trials for today. I think if I was going to do this again though, I think the way that I would make it work is to not use a brush at all on this product. I think I would use a traditional eyeshadow primer because that does seem to have helped. A traditional eyeshadow primer and just put a little bit on my finger after the eyeshadow primer had set, and then just keep dabbing a little bit of the liquid shadow on there so that I have a layer that is not too thick, because I think that's part of it. You have to be so careful how much you use, but you want it to show up, so if you put too light of a layer you won't even be able to see it. So I think I would use my finger. I think using a brush, because when I went back in and just dabbed a little bit more on with my finger, I really liked the way that it applied, and you can like make it thinner with your finger. It like melts the product in and makes it thinner than with a brush. A brush isn't going to do that because it's not absorbing the heat from your body. So yeah, I would use my fingers, and I think that might be part of the key here. But yeah, I do see some creasing again. But like I said, it looks way worse on camera than, like when I'm looking in my makeup mirror next to me, it doesn't look like this. So I'm not sure. It might be something about the lighting, but yeah. So, you know, this was an awful lot of trouble though to try to make a product work. But then again, it's $1. So if you can get this to work and you like the color selection, it could be worth it instead of spending like, those Stila ones are like 20 something dollars a piece. And then there are other brands that make them that are less expensive, but you might not like the color selection as much. You might not like some other aspect about it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you can figure out a way to make these work for you, then it might be worth it since they're only $1 a piece. And, you know, you can just have it shipped to your house or whatever, you know, because there's the convenience of not going to stores, because I'm more apprehensive now about buying makeup at stores because I'm so afraid. I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, who has touched this and picked it up, and, you know, were they wearing a mask? And you know what I mean? It makes you think twice because of everything that's going on. So yeah, use your fingers and I'll bet you won't have the issues, but these definitely do crease. So I don't know what to tell you. It would be up to you whether or not you think it's worth the work involved, but other people have had a similar experience because I went on and read some reviews and to see what people said, and other people had creasing issues as well. All right, well, that's it for today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it interesting and helpful somewhat. So thanks for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.